Okay, so now we're at the cabinet, and we're gonna put parts back together. We're gonna put the front plate, J plate, with the amp that we did. We're gonna put this side kick panel. I'm gonna put in some wiring where it goes, and we're gonna take it from there. The controller panel we're gonna do as a close-up because I gotta wire that up. So let's take some of this stuff, put it back where it goes. We got the kick plate panel, goes in the front, slides in the cutout that's straight. And you want to take that straight down. Boom. You got your kick plate in the front. Perfect. Now we're going to do the J panel that I keep calling, with the amp and the 4 buttons, the coin and the R2 button. That'll go in the slanted slot. Boom. That's in there. Now we almost there. So now we're going to turn the cabinet around, and we're going to do a couple of wiring. Alright. We finished the LEDs. We put in the HDMI controller board for the monitor and tested that out. That's working good. We did the power switch with the surge protector, tested that out, and it's working good. Now what we're gonna do is we're gonna take a couple of other products. One of them is again, I bought at 5 and below, the HDMI cable and the 3.5 millimeter auxiliary to RCA stereo cable. We need this to connect it to the video board and the amp. Let me get the original power supply from the ARCADE1UP. We're going to need that. And like I said, you don't need the extension that comes with it. That's unnecessary. You can do a direct connect from the power supply to the controller board. So what we're going to do is we're going to situate this stuff down here the way we want it. Okay. Forgive me if I got my back to you guys, but here's the original power supply for the ARCADE1UP. I'm going to plug this I'm going to plug it into one of the 4 outlets. I won't know exactly where it's going to stay permanently until I get everything in here situated, so let's just plug it in one of them for now. Take the other cable. You see, it's all trial and error, so I'm going to plug it all the way in the top one. Because the box is going to fall to the right of me. I'm going to take the cable and plug it in to the port on the far left of the video controller board. Okay, so we're going to take the original ARCADE1UP power supply and plug it into the port of the video controller board all the way on the far right. You're going to push that in, and that will supply power to that port, to that controller board, giving it power for the monitor. Okay, let me try to zoom in a little so you can see what I'm talking about. I don't know if you can see it clearly there. Right there. Okay, so I don't know if you can see that very clearly, but it's on my left side of the port. And what you want to do is, once you get everything situated, you want to tie up the wires neatly and nicely. I believe it was Amazon. I have to double check, but there will be a link. I bought these tie straps, and I don't know if you guys can see them. Let me zoom in. Let me get it into you guys so you can see. these tie straps. There we go. Zoom out. There you go. These tie straps with a little 3M adhesive on one side, and they hold very well. What you do is you put these at your discretion anywhere in the inside of the cabinet to hold the cables in place. And I think I either bought them on Amazon or eBay. I will definitely put a link at the bottom of the video so you can see. And it'll make everything in here look a little bit neater and more clear, so that whenever you have to go back in there and troubleshoot anything, you could just do it with ease, definitely with ease. So we're gonna tie up some of this power supply cable, because there's so much around it. So I'm going to take one of these twist ties, and I'm going to come with it, and I'm going to just wind it up a little bit, make it look a little neater. You always want to wind up wires from the source and keep it as low as you can. You don't want weight on anything, so that it's not pulling. So you want to leave a little extra, but not all this extra. You want to clean it up nice and neat. Twist it up with this tie. Keep it nice and clean. Now also, like I said earlier in the beginning, when I started this, the tray that was underneath the controller board, we're going to use as a tray inside the bottom of the cabinet. So you can keep all your extra stuff available and handy. And you want to clean that up real good. So I'm going to put one of these tie straps here, so that I can hold up, so that I can use it to hold the cable for the power strip. If you want to do that, you're going to put it somewhere where you think your cable's going to land. I'm putting it right next to the power strip. There. And let it sit there for a little bit. It should be good there. Let me zoom in so you guys can see that. You see? What you want to do is you're going to let it sit there, and what we're going to do is we're going to tie it to the power strip cable, just to keep it sturdy, it doesn't bounce around and tugged all over the place. You definitely want that. So we're going to do that, and tie that up right there. Actually, it made its own little loop. I guess the way everything is twisted up in here. But we got this tied up nice and neat. Now we're going to put some Velcro in the bottom of the power supply, the surge protector, so that it doesn't bounce around either. But we'll definitely get that going. I'm leaning to putting the Raspberry Pi on my right side when you're looking at the back of the cabinet. On my original cabinet, I put it on the left. Because the way the wires are falling here, I'm going to put it on the right side. Also Velcroed up. So let's get this HDMI cable out so we can have this ready, as well as the power supply for the amp and the audio jack to the board. We'll have that ready. Now these cables are really good for $5, if not less. I don't remember exactly what I paid. Like I said, I bought them in 5 and below. They don't get tangled up. I'm giving her a white set. I've done white, blue, red. I'm giving her a white set. I have no problems with that. Okay, so we got the cable for the amp, the HDMI cable, and the audio jack cable, and power supply for the amp. It's 12 volts, 2 amps. Supplies power to the amp. You can turn it off manually with the button we provided in the front. What you want to do is you want to keep the tie on the cable for the amp, the power cable. Just pull out as much as you can. Create yourself a length that'll still reach the power as well as the video board. I think I need to go another loop. There you go. And tighten back the rest. Now, because the way this outlet is, it's going to require you to plug it in the bottom of the power surge so it fits comfortably, allowing you to still plug in 2 more items in there, which will be the Raspberry Pi as well as any other item. So we have power to the amp, and we're going to plug that in to the amp right there. I don't know if you can see that there. I'll do footage of everything once we get it all in there. I'll take the camera off the stand so you can see everything more clearly. Let's just get everything in. We have the HDMI cable, which came with 2 ties, just to keep it together. We want to keep those ties there. Let's just give it enough slack, because you're going to want the HDMI cable to go from the video board to the Raspberry Pi, which we will mount on the right side of the cabinet. So I like to give myself at least a foot of space on both sides, like this. Foot of space. Tie this up. Twist it. That's ready to go. Take your other tie. Twist it back on the top here. Keeps these cables nice and neat in there. You don't want it all a mess. When you got to troubleshoot anything, you just want to be able to get in and out, not run into a mess just because you're being lazy. Okay, so we did this much length. You got enough length to go from the video controller to the Pi. So we're gonna put that in for now. There you go. It should have enough for it to connect to the Raspberry Pi once it's mounted up there. Okay. Now we have your RCA 3.5 millimeter auxiliary cable to RCA, and this was bought at Walmart for about $3 or $4. Okay, it's also pretty lengthy. It's like 4 feet. You don't need 4 feet. You need less than that, because the amp and the video board is not that far from each other. It's not 4 feet away. So what you want to do is you want to unravel, but give yourself enough to reach each side. You don't want to, I think that is more than enough. I think we got like about 2 feet of length here out of the 4 feet cable. So you retie the leftover cable, and twist it up, and voila. I think you got about 2 feet there, which is less than what you have from the board to the amp. It's less than 2 feet. What you're going to do is you're going to take the 3.5 millimeter jack and plug it into the port all the way on your right side. Facing the board, all the way on the right. You're going to push it in until you hear it click. It's not all the way in, you're not going to get full sound. So make sure you hold that board and push that all the way in, and there you go. The port next to it is not an auxiliary jack. I don't remember what it was, but I do know that the last one here from ETA Prime's video is the sound port. So you're going to take your red and white lead, your RCA leads, and connect them to the amp. Now this will bring sound from the Pi to the video board to the amp, to the speaker, boosting up the sound. You don't want to go crazy with the sound. You don't want to make it too loud, but that is what you want to do. You want to connect it that way so that it looks nice and neat. Okay? Let me take the camera off the tripod. Okay, so what I'm going to do is show you the front of the ARCADE1UP. This is the kick plate down here. Alright. This is the J board that I keep calling it. It's a J panel actually, with the amplifier that we did in the previous videos. We have the R2 coin button for player 1 in red, and the coin R2 button for player 2 in blue. Alright, we're going to turn this around, show you the wiring. Down here we have our surge protector that we bought. I provide links at all my videos, so you'll be able to get that at Harbor Freight. The inside right here where the tie is holding that cable, as well as the power switch that I bought. I'll provide a link at the bottom of the video for this. Then we have the HDMI cable we bought at Harbor Freight. Simple cable, you know. We have the original stock power supply connected to the video board on the port on the far left. Then we have the RCA jack that we bought at Walmart. Also, there'll be a link to that, connected to the amp, as you can see right there. Let me zoom in a little. Got the red and white lead connected there. We have the female cable with the connection that we put on the amp, ready to be connected once we get the controller board in there. And we have the power supply for the amp also plugged in at the bottom of the surge protector. Okay, so that is our wire setup for now. We have to do the controller board. Let me get this out of the way a little. We have to do the controller board, and we will definitely set up for that. I'm gonna do some wiring on that. Okay, so everything looks neat. clean. Cabinet looks good. The LED lights look nice. Those will be connected to the side right here. Once I get the pie put in, pie set up and put in, and we'll definitely have a video for that. Here's again the switch, which is on the player 1 side, on and off. It turns on when you turn it on. It lights up as well. There's a fuse there. Okay, and I think we are good. And all you need for that switch is a basic AC plug. I have a couple of them laying around when I used to deal with computers. The basic AC plug has the female connection in one end and the male connection in the other. It goes to the plug, and that's it. There's I'll provide a link for that, for one of those on Walmart. They got a 6-foot one, so it gives you enough space. So what we're gonna do right now is we're going to clean up a little and set up for the controller board, so I can wire that up and get it on the cabinet. Okay, so we're back at the controller panel. Joysticks, buttons, everything's ready to go. What we're gonna do is we're gonna wire up the buttons and control to the double USB board, CY2121, by the company name, which I mentioned before, SJ@JX. And if you think I'm kidding, look at that. Look at that name. Where we at? Let me see if I could hold it down here and zoom it so you can see it better. Yeah, right there. See? That's the name of the company. That's the name of the board. It is a double USB board, CY2121. Now, I didn't mention this before, but I'm going to mention it now. When I started working with these boards, and I plugged everything in and plugged it into the arcade cabinet and the pie did not recognize anything. I was able to program one side, and then when I wanted to do the other side, the player 2 side, it wouldn't allow me to do it. It had some kind of weird issue. Fortunately, with some Google searching and some research, I found a couple of people who had the same problems with these boards. Now, I highly like these boards, not because, you know, I had the issue. It just takes research and work to find the problem solution. Try to find a solution for the problem, as what I'm trying to say. And what I found out is that there is a sort of a command line code that you have to put in one of your files on your SD card. So if you attempt to do this project yourself, I will provide the code, the line that you need to add to a file, and I'll make a video about that so that you can get your Raspberry Pi and the image that we're using, the Wolfenos image, if not whatever image you guys use, so that this board and these buttons will be recognized on that image. It's a simple coding. You can use a program like Notepad++, and I'll also make a video on that so that you can see how to use that. And it's just a simple line you add. And if you know what you're doing, and you're gonna want to do some other tinkering in that file anyway, because you want to remove the logo and the text as the Pi boots up, you're just gonna add this extra line on there, and it'll recognize this board flawlessly, and so much better. And when you see what I do right now, as for wiring this, you're gonna see why I like these boards better, and this these buttons, because their wires are simple. They're not all crazy and out of whack and stuff. Everything's all together. You see, they come in a strip, so I could connect four buttons together at once. I don't have to have strands of wire all over the place and making a sloppy mess. And that's one thing I'm very OCD about. I like to have whatever I do neat, clean, and visually appealing to the eye. I don't like a whole wiry mess. And these cables come already connected 2 in a set. Okay, some of them come 4 in a set or 3 in a set. Look, these are 3 in a set. That's 2 in a set. What we got here? 3 in a set. 3 in a set. 3 in a set. 3 in a set, which is good. So it allows you to do 3 buttons without having all the wires all over the place and jangled up, and you got a zip tie here and zip tie there just to make it look neat. Now let me show you exactly what we got in the packaging here. Obviously I showed you the board, the USB board. Okay, so that came in that. And then we will have your USB cable that will go from the board, from that board to the Pi. It's one cable, long enough. Okay, I'm not going to take it apart now. We'll do that later when we're going to connect the Pi. But it's one cable, and it'll take up one port of your Raspberry Pi. You don't have to take up 2 ports for 2 players. This setup will recognize 2 players with this board once you put that code in the command line text, the command line file with Notepad++. I will do a video on that, and you guys will see how that is done. Okay, so also when you buy it from Amazon, their listing has the image of the board and what everything is. Okay, let me zoom you guys in here so you can see what I'm talking about. Right there. It tells you what each connection is. You got A, B, C, D, L1, R1, L2, R2, coin, player 1. The left up, right down, those are not needed unless you're using other joysticks that have the harp joysticks, I think they're called. You would use those, and you would connect those there. With this, you have the player 1 and player 2 right here. These are the ports for the player 1, and you get the cable separately for that. Alright, and that'll connect to your joysticks. Those are your joystick connections, player 1, player 2. Alright, and then you have your other side. So you have your player 2 on one side, your player 1 on the other side. You got the A, B, C, D, L1, R1, L2, R2, coin, player 1. Don't pay no mind to the last 4. That's for we're going to say a harp joystick. If I'm wrong, please correct me in the comments below. And then you plug in your joystick right there. This image is actually on the Amazon listing. You could actually pull that image from the listing itself and print it out so you can have a copy and be able to wire this up. Okay, so what we're going to do is we're going to separate some cables here. We're going to take some and put some aside. Here's your joystick cables. Okay, these most definitely have to be separated because your joysticks are in 2 separate locations. So what you're going to do is you're going to separate this cable. I mean, it'd be ridiculous to leave it connected. It's just, let's separate them. Okay, so you have your joystick 1, your joystick 2. We'll put these cables aside for now. Then we have your set of 3 cables. How many we have here? We have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and 6. 6 sets of 3 cables, and you have your set of 2 cables, which I'm assuming is for player 1 and player 2. We'll probably do a little separation on that also. Let's figure this out slowly. We'll put this aside for now. We're not going to start separating cables. Like I said, I don't want a big mess, so we're going to leave it as is for now. I also bought some Sharpies, a red one and a blue one, so I know more or less which cable goes to what. I'm not that bad of a writer. These points are very sharp still, so that's good. So I will mark some of these up. You know, you're not going to be damaging anything. It's just to let me know more or less what's what and where what gets connected. So we're going to put aside these 6 right here. So we have the area clean. We'll put aside the joystick cables, and this set of 2, we'll leave it right here in the front for now. We won't forget about it, and figure out what we're going to do with that. So we got one set of 3s, and we're going to work from left to right. Player 2, player 1. Okay, blue is player 2, red is player 1. Alright, and we're going to work our way, and like I said, when we did this, we put our connections facing all the same way. This makes it easier so these wires could all land in the middle where that board is going to fall. Alright, so we're going to just start by connecting these, and we need to remember what's what when we connect these. So we're going to do, let's say 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3. We'll do it in that pattern. 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3. So that way we can keep the cables connected together as one. So we got one here. Okay, we're gonna separate a little bit, bounce to the next one here, separate a little, and bounce to this one here. Perfect. Okay, and looks neat, nice and neat. See, and you got the 3 strands here, right? Keep those there, put those aside. Let's get another set of 3, and we'll do the same thing, but we're gonna go from this one, from here to here to here. So we're gonna take the first one, and we try to keep it in a pattern. That one there. Second one right there, connect it, and we split a little, and we jump to the next one. Boom, connected. So now we got all 3 connected, and we didn't go crazy splitting wires. Everything's still neatly together. We can keep these together just like that, and when we reach the board, it'll look neat. Alright, now let's do the other side. Let's take a set of 3. Alright, and we're gonna do like we did the pattern over here. We're gonna go 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3. We could have even went 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3. It doesn't matter. We could have done either way. 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3. Okay, it really doesn't matter as long as you take 3 neatly and put them in the right position. Okay, so we got the first one here. And we got second one here, and we separate a little, and third one there. See, nice and neat, guys. Nothing crazy, nothing outrageous. Now we got another set of 3s, and we're gonna do 1, 2, 3. So I put the one there, Split it a little so we can bounce over here. Okay, split that one a little and bounce it over here. There you go. Perfect. And again, these two cables will be close together, and we're gonna tie those up together with a Velcro. I'll show you later. Everything's gonna be all tied up together real neatly. See, it's visually it's still looking neat. Everything's there. Now we don't know what the buttons are because we have to flip it over to see, and we'll do that when we're ready to connect it to the board. Let's do the two top ones. Now we don't have a set of 2s except this one, so we're gonna have to take a set of 3 and make a set of 2. All right, which leaves one strand separate, which is fine because I think that's what I did with my original cabinet when I did these cables. So let's take one off. Okay, one single one out, put it aside. That'll most likely fall for the R2 and the coin button, which you want like that because later on if you want to take anything apart, those are the two that you're going to disconnect first anyway. But let's hope we never have to do that. So we're going to take this set of 2 and put one here and one over here. Okay, that's done. And we take this set of 2 and we'll put one in the bottom, split a little in the top. Perfect. Okay, now we want to take our joystick cables. Now our joystick cables are 5 pins. The ones we were doing are 3 pins. These are 5 pins. So you know they're your joystick cables. Right? You're going to take one end and you're going to follow the notches. There's notches here. I don't know. I didn't mention that. But there are notches in these connections. So you can see where and what direction they go. Okay, so there's notches on there and they'll guide you to what direction to push them in any of these parts. Joystick, button, they all have notches, and there we go. Now this has been wired nice and neat. Now we need to take the board and we need to hold the board in the direction of the image so I can tell you more or less. This side is player 2, this side is player 1. Okay, now when you flip the board this way, because the cables are going to come up into it, alright, you need to remember this side is player 2, this side is player 1. To make things easier, like I said, I'm going to mark one of the boxes with the color code of the buttons. So if I'm holding the board this way, player 1 will be on this side, making this red. Okay, making that side red. Player 2 will be the other side, which is blue. So we'll take the marker and color that in. Player 2. Now, I won't lie and say that I've gotten this wrong before. I have. So later on, if you see me make a mistake, I'm going to come back with some alcohol and clean those marks off and probably switch it around. But we're going to not do that. So if memory corrects me, This button up here is L2. Let's double check. L2. Yes. Player 1, L2, player 2. So we already know where those are on the image. Okay? L1, player 1. L1, player 2. L1, L1, player 1. Player 2, player 1. Okay? Now we need to remember where these are. I'm not mistaken, this is A, B, C, D. A, B, C, D. Let's double check. Yep, A, B, C, D. A, B, C, D. And the two last ones, top one is L1, R1. L1, R1. Okay, so now you need to remember the order you put the wires on the buttons. You have to follow that order at the end. So if your far end wire is A, your far end connector is A. So you have to put that in the A spot for player 1. Like so. Okay? Now, your second button up here is C. Yes, your second button up here is C. So you need to follow that middle strand and connect that one to C, which is the next one past the first one. So you got A, B, C. Okay, that's C. The next one over is D. Okay, I know it sounds confusing, but visually I did it this way so that the wires could look neater. As long as you remember what's what and where it goes, you won't have no problems here. None whatsoever. So you got D, which is right under C, on the board. Like so. Let me zoom that in so you can see that. You got A, skip B, C, then D. Okay? Doesn't mean that B is not going to get put in. It's just coming in with the next cables. Okay? So now you got B, right? And then you got R1. You got B, R1, L1. Now, what I would do for to make it less confusing, get a piece of tape, like a painter's tape, and just write down what each button is. Okay? Write down each button, and that'll help you remember. But remember one thing: the order of the cables on the strand has to be the same order you put on the board. Okay? So now we got B, and that would be the last connection on the strand. So we got B right here, and we're going to connect that to the board right here. Boom. Okay. Then the middle one is R1. So we're going to take that one all the way down past D and skip one notch and plug it there. Okay. Now, the top one here is L1. Okay. Let me double check. I'm confusing. Okay, L1, I was right. So the top one up here is L1. It's starting to look a little messy up here. Don't worry. It's better that it's a little confusing here than it is messy down here. Alright? So you're going to take that other strand That's L1, and you're gonna put it in between the D and R2. Okay. Now, I'm looking at it and I'm not liking the way it's falling. So what I might do is I'm gonna try something else. I'm gonna try so that it looks a little neater visually for me up here. So let's take these out. Okay. And we got a set of three, right? So let's just put it in up here. And we'll know more or less. We got A, B, A, B, C. Okay, they're not connected down here at A, B, and C. So let's take those out. Okay. What we're gonna do is we're gonna remember the order: A, B, C, A, B, C. So we're gonna take this one, make this A. Take this one, make it B. Take this one, make it C. I think that looks way better. Yes, much better. Pardon for all that mix up, but you know, we're learning together. Okay. Now we take the other set of threes, and we're gonna do just exactly what I did. So that would make it D, L1, R1. So you got D, L1, R1. And there's no crisscrossing there. Everything is nice and clean. Looks really good now. We just remember the order that we just plugged it in. So that would be D, L1, R1. So the first strand over here is D. The next one in the middle is L1. And the last one over here is R1. There you go. Perfect. I think it looks great. Much better. Everything's all clean and direct there, and everything's clean and direct there. Okay? Now we're going to work with player 1 and L2. So player 1 and L2. We take L2. I keep questioning it, so that's why I'm looking at it. We take L2 and we skip. No, we don't skip anything. Put L2 right in its spot. Right there. L2. Okay? Now, player 1. We gotta skip a couple. So we're gonna skip R2, the coin button, and that will put us at player 1. You know it's player 1 because it's closest to the joystick. So you got R2 and coin empty. And the cable looks neat. Lined up nicely. we'll be able to Velcro. We're going to do a Velcro strap here and keep everything clean and neat. And I like the fact that these cables are long enough, so it allows me to put the board anywhere, mount the board anywhere inside the cabinet. Okay guys, let's do the other side. And we're going to do again what we said we were going to do. So let's disconnect these over here. And I apologize for steering you wrong in the beginning. But we are learning together, trial and error. Okay? So we're going to take set of 3 and we're going to hit ABC. So we're going to do this like this. A, B, C. Layer 2. Okay? Then we're going to follow those. Excuse me. We're going to follow those onto the buttons. So we got A, B, wait, something went wrong there. I see what I did wrong. Take A here. A, B, C. Okay, now we make sure it's right over here. It's not hard. It's not that hard to change it out. Just pull with caution. Pull them off with caution. So you got A, B, C. There you go. Now it's much neater. Okay, let me zoom that in so you can see. ABC. Okay. Now we're gonna take the other set. And let's work it from the button this time because I don't want these wires all twisted up at the button area. Alright. So we're gonna do, I think it's R1, L1, D. So we got R1, L1, D. So we take this far one here and we connect it to D. The middle one becomes L1. And the last one becomes R1. There you go. Nice and neat. And we're good to go. And again, like I said, I love that these cables are so long because it allows me to mount the board anywhere, which I'll show you inside the cabinet. Now we're going to take the L2 and the player 2 buttons and we're going to do the same thing we did on the player 1 side. We're going to take the L2, plug that in under the R1 and pull a little bit for the player 2 button and plug that in, leaving 2 gaps for R2 and the coin button for player 2. Okay, now we're going to take your joystick and we're going to try to feed that in between here and get it in the middle because that's where they're falling. Your 5-pin. Perfect. It's in there. Let me show you. Zoom that in. See? Now let's get the player 1 joystick in there. And connect that bad boy in there. Boom. Perfect. And that's connected in there. Now, like I said, I plan to Velcro strap these together so it could be a little neater. I'll show you once I got it inside the cabinet. But we'll leave that as is for now. We're going to put the controller board inside the cabinet. Figure out where we're going to mount the board with some Velcro so that it could be positioned good. And I'm not going to lie, I probably may have to turn everything around because for me to get it right the first time, it would be a great luck. But hopefully we won't have to do that. We just got to test it with a Pi and an image and make sure everything's working. So we'll do that in the next video. 3, 2, 1. Okay, so we're back at the cabinet. And I don't know if you can see through there. Let me zoom you in a little. Okay, but the board is all connected. I still have to connect the coin and the R2 buttons. But the board is connected to the control panel. It's just hanging for now. Once we test everything and check to see if everything's working good, I will mount it with some Velcro onto the back K panel, K piece of the K wood right there, we'll call it. But the controls is all put on. You got your player 1, your player 2, red and blue. You got your buttons down here and your amp. So what I want to do is I want to get a Pi and plug everything in and run it, test it out, make sure it's working, make sure I got the right order so that player 1 and player 2 is connected. I'm going to take the other cables and connect the wires to the board itself, and then we'll come back and test everything. I have to split this one, so I'll leave these two together. Unfortunately, these two had to be splitted. Maybe I'll get some kind of tape or something to get these two back together. Maybe I'll use like some Scotch tape or some something to. I got an idea. I got an idea what I want to do, but we'll definitely get these together so it's not nasty mess, you know, loose wiring. But we will definitely test these two out and test that out and take it from there. Okay? Okay, so we're back at the cabinet. I put in the other two cables in for the coin and R2 buttons. I went and taped together the two loose cables that I had. I taped them together. I used painter's tape in blue. Put it on the blue side. So we kept those together. Keeping those together. So there's not too much splitting of any cables. I got a temporary Pi I'm going to use. This is the 3B, not the 3B Plus. I will be putting a 3B Plus Pi in here. This is just my test Pi so that I can test everything out, make sure everything's running good. It's already programmed with Wolfeno's 32 gigabyte image, arcade image, and it's ready for the ARCADE1UP. Like I said, it's not the one I'm going to be using on the final build. It is just one that I'm testing to see if everything's working good. It's just a test Pi. So we're gonna plug in the cabinet through our power switch here. It's already on, so let me turn that off. I don't know why it was on. Okay. And we are going to get the USB cable that we're gonna need to connect the USB board to the Pi. And this cable has some distance to it as well, which we don't need all of it. We just need some of it. We need about at least 2 feet, if not less, to connect. And we'll just zip tie the, not zip tie, twist tie the rest. I think that's about enough. Just ravel up the rest. We don't need all this cable jumbled up in here. We only need about 2 feet of distance, if not less, but 2 feet is good to play with. Okay, we got enough there. So we're going to connect it to the board. All the buttons are connected and ready to go. We're going to put the USB cable from the USB board to port 1 of your Pi. So that would be the top port on your left side. It goes in that order: 1, then down 2, then 3 over here on the other side, and 4 on the bottom. And you're going to put that USB port in there. We're going to connect our HDMI cable. And remove the cover for that. Connect the HDMI cable to your Pi. Okay. And the power source, the plug for your Pi, your power source. We're going to connect that. Nothing should go on because everything is off at the switch. So there we go. We got your power, your HDMI, and your USB port. We could also plug in the LED lights. I would plug that into port 4. So they have the other 2 to play with to add anything else. We're not going to do that now because 1, the wire is too short, and 2, we're not mounting this Pi. We're just using this one to test everything. So we're going to just put everything there on the bottom of the cabinet. Let's turn this around so we could see the boot up. Let's fix the camera a little. Okay. Now let's flick the switch and see how everything looks. Everything should start up. Alright, we got video. We got boot up. I'm not seeing the buttons light up, which I don't know why. Those buttons should have lit up. I don't have my amp plugged into the speaker. I should have done that. Let's see what happens here. Let this thing boot up. It's loading. Emulation station. Oh crap. Okay, from what I'm seeing, my buttons only light up when I press it. I wasn't aware that this kit did that, and that really does suck. The buttons do light up. All of them are lighting. Just testing every one of them. And I don't understand why it's set up like that. But let's shut it down. I want to connect that speaker. I want to see how that sounds. I should have done that. Connect that speaker with the connector. And it should be golden with sound after this. There you go. Yes, we got sound. We have this plugged in. I'm a little curious to why these cables, these lights are not staying on. Let's turn that amp on. Okay. Let's check the volume so it's not so loud. You don't want this thing blowing up the speaker. You're gonna put it 3/4 of the way. There, the amp is on. It's booting up again. Okay, speaker's sounding good. I got my custom boot screen there. Now we're gonna program the buttons. We'll worry about them lighting up later. They do light up. They just light up when you press them. I want them to stay on constantly. I may have to get a hold of the company. If anybody knows the trick to do that, I know it's a little switching of the wires, the connection to the wires. Please help me out and add how to do that in the comments. I saw it in a YouTube video, not like when I first started this, and I just can't remember how to. I can't find the video anymore, so I just don't know how to do that. So what we're gonna do is we're gonna program it. It detected 2 gamepads. That means that the code that I put in on the command line worked. So it detected 2 gamepads. Let me get that first one started. So we're gonna press up, down, left, right on the joystick for that. The start button will be your player 1 button. Your select button will be your coin button down here. You're going to do your A, B. X is going to be C. Y is going to be D. Your left shoulder and right shoulder will be L1, R1. Your left trigger and your right trigger buttons will be L2 up here. R2 down here. You're going to skip the rest of them by holding down A again on each one. These are for analogs, so if you have a control with analogs, but we don't have no analog controls hooked up on here right now. Now when you reach the hotkey enable, what you want to do is you're going to enable the hotkey with the L2 button. Even though you pressed it prior for a command, it's gonna give you a choice to pick another button again for the hotkey. So we're gonna make that one L2, and then you press A to hit OK, and you let that skip. You let that go. It'll bring you to the beginning of the image. Okay, and you got the image working over here. Let me shut this light off so you get a better look. Okay, so you got this image ready to, pick whatever system or game you want. Now I'm going to program the second side to make sure that we are correct on what side we're supposed to be on. So we're going to hit the start button to bring up the main menu. We're going to go down to configure input. You're going to hit A. It's going to ask you, are you sure? It's not going to erase what you just did. It's just going to ask you, do you want to configure again? And you're going to hit A for yes. Now, what you're going to do is hold the A button on the second player controller. So it detects that. You got your up, so you press up on your joystick, down, down on your joystick, left, left on your joystick, right, right on your joystick. Your start button will be your player 2 button. Your select button will be your coin button. Your A would be A, your B will be B, your X will be C, your Y will be D. Your left shoulder and right shoulder buttons will be L1 for left shoulder, R1 for right shoulder. Your left trigger and right trigger button will be your L2 up here for left trigger. Your right trigger will be down here, R2 for right trigger. Now for the further controls, that's for analog only. So you're going to hold down the A button until it skips to the next one, let it go. Hold it again, skips to the next one, let it go. Hold it again, skips to the next one, let it go. Hold it again, skips to the next one, let it go. Hold it again, skips to the next one, let it go. And keep going until you get to the hotkey. Okay? Now again, it'll give you a choice to pick another button. Even though you got it programmed for one thing, it'll also make that button a hotkey. We're going to make that the L2 button over here on the player 2 side. And now you're going to hit OK. And you wait till it gets to the menu. And there we go. We press B to quit that. Now to test that I plugged everything in right for player 1 and player 2, I like to go to my favorite game, Mortal Kombat. Look at that. This image has snaps. It shows you a little picture of the game as well as a little video intro of what the game is. So we're going to go down to Mortal Kombat. We're going to actually, if you press the select the coin button, it'll give you an option menu and you pick your letter so you can skip to, because there are a lot of games in here. I'm going to go to U for Ultimate Mortal Kombat and hopefully find it there. There it is, Ultimate Mortal Kombat. Press A. I gotta change those. Those are the loading screens. I gotta change that. Okay. Now these arcade games, you gotta give them a minute to boot up. It's just like in the arcade. They take a minute to boot. Also, you're gonna see some borders here. I'm gonna take those out. Those do not look good there. I have to remove those, so forgive me if I didn't do that. I was trying to get this video started. So what we're gonna do is we're gonna hit the coin button, and you're gonna hear the credits add up every time I hit the coin button. See? Now I'm gonna press A to start, or player 1. There you go. Okay, we already see our first problem. You see? It's reading the right side, the left side as player 2. So that means I have to switch everything around. So there was a mistake there. So I have to switch everything around. So if I press player 2 on the controller, let's let this go. There you go. Player 2 is player 1. So yes, I did make the mistake. And it does happen. This is how we test everything. But it seems like the controls are working good. Let's just start the game off. We're going to do my 2 favorite ninjas. It started on its own. I didn't do it quick enough. That's fine. We're going to test out the punch buttons. That's kick. That's punch. Want to make sure block. I want to make sure that they both do the same punch and kicks. That's low kick. looks like. I think I'm off on the kick button here. That looks like a low kick. Alright, I'll tell you right now. Okay, got the high punches right. The low punches right. The kicks are off. I gotta fix the kicks. Okay, but that's fine because I'm gonna switch everything around. The credits work. Credits work on that. Ah! And that's your input key. That is your option key for player 1. Player 1 has the option, is gonna have the option for that. But since everything is backwards, we're gonna switch that around and I'm gonna get it corrected. So what I'll do is I'll pause the video for now and then fix that up, and we'll come back and look at everything and make sure everything's working. Okay, so I went and took everything off and rewired everything back the way it's supposed to be. I checked it before I put this video on so I didn't look stupid, but we're gonna do it with the video now. And I also took the pie inside and removed some of the overlays that I had to do, and I tweaked up a couple of the images so everything's good in there. So let's turn this around. Okay, everything still looks the same here. Everything's wired up. The only difference is I switched everything around. So we got the player 1 where player 1 is supposed to be, and player 2 where player 2 is supposed to be. I also took the marker color coded to the side that's supposed to be, and I marked up the USB board so I know what's what for next time if I have to do this again. So we're going to turn this around and we're going to flick the switch and see how everything's looking. Okay. We got video. Let's shut the light off here so we can see. Alright. We have my personal splash screen, which looks good. Give it a second. This pie is a little slower than the 3B Plus, but it's an extra, extra pie that I had around. So I'm going to be using it just for test purposes, so I'm not banging up the actual pie that's going to go in there. I'm still a little upset. The lights only go on the buttons when you press them. If you notice, I press A and it lights up. Each button lights up when you press it. It's a nice color too, but I prefer them to stay on, so I gotta try to figure that out. Let's see how that works. I think I started the game, so I'm gonna exit that. Okay, so we're back at the main screen. Okay, I didn't screw that down yet, and we have the controls working up and down, left and right. Once we get in there, we can go left and right. Let's start that Mortal Kombat one more time. There we go. I'm going to hit the coin button to get that option menu. I'm going to jump me to letter U. And we're going to start Mortal Kombat. Ultimate Mortal Kombat right there. I'm going to change the startup screen. That's going to get fixed. Okay, we got rid of the overlay, so now you get the full screen of the game itself. I'm going to hit the coin button so we can get those credits. Player 2 also gets those credits. They share the credits, but at least we know it's working. Then hit player 1. We got player 1 moving, Let's move to Scorpion with player 2. We got player 2 moving. Let's move to Sub-Zero. Start this off. Okay. So my 2 ninjas right here. We're gonna test. Yes, the kick is working. High kicks are working. High punch is working. Low kick is working. Low punch is working. Block. The run button. Okay. Now, that's the arcade menu button that is only available for player 1. So I can change a couple of options here. Add some cheats where I don't, won't die or stuff like that, which is, it's like having a little game genie, but it's pretty cool. Now my hotkey we made was L2, and it's L2 for both. The hotkey is for both sides, player 1, player 2. So when you hold the hotkey and you press the player 1 button, it boots up boots you out of the game, brings you back to the main menu. Okay, and you can do that with almost either side. Okay, you can hold that hotkey, hit the player button, either player 1, player 2, and it'll boot you out and start you back at the main menu. So let's check that one more time. Hold the hotkey, which is L2. Okay, why is that not working? Guess the hotkey only works for player 1. We're going to check that out, see what happened. Going to reconfigure that. Hold it. Up, down, left, right, start. Coin for select. A for A, B for B, C for X, D for Y. Left shoulder, right shoulder would be L1, R1. Left trigger, right trigger would be L2, R2. Okay, skip these by holding down the A button each time. And there's that hotkey again. I'm going to press L2 and hit A for OK. Now let's start a game with player 2. If you don't want to use player 1 and you're more comfortable playing on this side. So let's see if it'll let me boot out for player 2. I guess not. Only player 1 seems to have the option. Now the image I'm using here is the Wolfenose 32 gigabyte. There's another image that was improved with the Wolfenose. So if in testing we'll check that. That's the image I'm going to be using at the end. We'll test that out and see if that works, and see if that is one of the things they improved and fixed in the image. So yeah, it's not letting me out. So we're just gonna use L2 and player 1 on the player 1 side. Either way, you can get out the game. All right. So far everything's looking good. We're gonna find out about those color buttons staying on, and we're gonna definitely test everything out and see if we can get this working the way we want it compared to the first cabinet that I did for myself. Okay?